Speaking at the Nuclear Security Summit in Washington, Barack Obama has outlined what he thinks is one of the biggest threats to the modern world, that of nuclear components falling into terrorist hands. However, a scientific hub in Iraq that was seized by Islamic State is reportedly in possession of uranium, a key component in nuclear bomb making. It's escaped Washington's attention for almost 2 years, despite constant warnings.
The danger of a terrorist group obtaining and using a nuclear weapon is one of the greatest threats to global security.
How successful those strikes are, whether they really have now been able to take out ISIS's chemical weapons capability, is a very open question.
The University of Mosul and its science department fell into Islamic State hands 2 years ago, along with the city. According to one Iraqi military official, quote, "The university is the best ISIL research center in the world." And there were reports that terrorists seized almost 40 kilos of uranium from there. Islamic State brought in its own staff to the site and turned it into a bomb-making facility. The lab is also said to be manufacturing bombs similar to those used in the recent attacks in Brussels. Our Washington correspondent Guy Chichikan went to the U.S. State Department to ask why the coalition delayed in making it a priority.
Well, the U.S. military targeted the Mosul University campus with airstrikes in March, but U.S. officials who commented on this did not seem to know what the impact of the strikes was and whether they were successful. Here's what the spokesman of the U.S. military in Iraq said.
We know that they have a presence in Mosul University. We know that there are obviously there's a chemistry department over there previously, so presumably there's equipment there that's useful. Whether or not they're assembling chemical weapons there in the university, I don't know.
We know that 2 years ago, Iraqi officials alerted the international community about the materials at the Mosul University lab that fell into the hands of Daesh, materials including uranium compounds. So there's the question why the U.S. targeted the facility only recently, and also what happened to the nuclear materials. I asked the State Department. Take a listen.
We're aware of that report. I don't have details to share at this time. We've been concerned by ISIL's use of chemical weapons in both Syria and Iraq. We continue to work with partners to mitigate this threat.
Daesh has been using this Mosul University lab to make bombs for 2 years now. And as I understand, the U.S. began to target the labs this March. Do you know why not earlier?
I can't speak for that. For operational stuff, we'll send you across the river.
So the State Department directed us to the Pentagon. We reached out to the Pentagon. No response just yet.
Jack Rice, a former CIA officer and lawyer, told us ISIL's nuclear ambitions should be treated seriously.
When you go back to 2014 and you realize that this should have been a target then, there is a need to limit the ability of ISIL to operate. This is about excluding their ability to touch something and use it as a tool. With the most recent intelligence that they apparently have acquired out of Brussels, that ISIL was actually targeting one of the senior people inside of Brussels who deals with the nuclear programs themselves. Essentially, the effort to acquire that material, it really shows that ISIL is very conscious of this. This is something they're aware of, something they're focusing upon. And if the West, the Americans, and certainly the Europeans aren't taking this seriously before, they must be now.